What is good, everyone? Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the 2021, or what was the 2020 Olympics. Let's get started. Just a quick word. I was looking at the stats analytics on my channel and I noticed that a really small fraction of the people who are watching my videos are actually subscribed. It's like about 7%. So I would really love it if you could actually hit that subscribe button and join the channel, help me get my message out to more people. And I really appreciate every single one of my subscribers. I still have a very small channel, so if you comment, I will always answer your comment. Basically, it's very nice for me to interact with the people who enjoy watching my channel. So subscribe, remember to hit the like button, and join the conversation. Okay, back to the episode. Now, as you are no doubt aware, the Tokyo Olympics was postponed from 2020 to 2021. And obviously that was for all the things that were going on in 2020. But there are still a lot of questions swirling around how the Olympics might still be pulled off, even postponed a year later. Like, will there have to be quarantines, or will the vaccines be out in time? Will they have to test everyone who shows up at the airport? All those kinds of things. And it's not entirely certain how it's all going to go down. For this video, I wanted to get kind of the temperature of ordinary Japanese people and their feeling towards the Olympics happening in 2021. So I sent out messages all across social media to people I know, friends and former students of mine, just to see what they might think about the Tokyo Olympics happening in 2021, and I'm going to share the results of that with you right now. The results of my sort of impromptu survey actually fell into two primary camps. I received probably about 20 replies, and the replies fell basically into two categories. The first category, about 1/3 of the people who replied, were honestly indifferent. They used the words like "dodemo ii hanashi," which is like, I don't really care about it, it's not an issue that I'm paying attention to, or "dochi demo ii," which is either way is fine. Like, if the Olympics happen, they happen. If they don't happen, they don't happen. So yeah, not exactly a roaring endorsement. About 1/3 of the people were just indifferent. Yeah, if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, so what? So not off to a good start in terms of excitement for the 2021 Olympics. Now, I should point out a caveat for this video. The people who replied are mostly in their 30s and 20s, so I don't actually know what older generations might think, like retiree age generations, because they are actually people who would remember the 1964 Tokyo Olympics, and therefore might be a little more excited about it, because those games were huge for Japan. It was like Japan's sort of re-entering into the international community and showing what they had managed to accomplish in their reconstruction since World War II. Well, the generation that remembers the 1964 games might be more enthusiastic about the 2021 Olympics. Maybe, maybe not. Unfortunately, I don't have any answers from that generation. So the second group that most people fell into is actually even worse than indifference, and that is they were openly against the Olympics happening. They basically talked about how they felt that the infrastructure involved of like testing and vaccination and those sorts of things were going to be insufficient, that Tokyo would be largely unable to provide for those things. And one person actually went so far as to suggest that it was a big potential for embarrassment for Japan, that when people showed up there would be too many problems and it would end up being kind of a black mark because they didn't expect Japan would be able to handle, you know, putting on the Olympics with the continuing pandemic. There were concerns about would vaccines be out, not just in Japan in terms of rollout, because they're coming out much later here than they are in the States, for example. I'm in education, but I can't expect to get a vaccine until probably at least June, I'm guessing. And of course, you know, all the different countries that take part in the Olympics, you know, are those countries from all around the world going to have their vaccine rollouts in place so that their citizens and athletes will be completely safe and protected for when they come overseas to Japan and, you know, partake in the games. So through those opinions, basically, I think I had 2 respondees that were like, you know, if we have the Olympics, it'll be exciting, and that's good. But the rest of the people were either indifferent, and the vast majority of people who answered were openly against holding the games at this point. Now, rather than just me summarizing this to you, I'm actually going to go ahead and read a few quotes from some of the respondees so that you get a more clear sense of how they're thinking. So I'm going to leave out names and I'm just going to tell you some different quotes. So person 1 here says, basically I'm against the idea of hosting the Tokyo Olympics in this situation. I work for a hotel, and from a business perspective, I really want the Olympics to come to the city so we can get a great amount of revenue. But it's a huge risk, especially when not all of us can get vaccines. And still there's a high chance to be infected and, you know, serious conditions can happen. The Olympic is just for a few months, but our life goes on even after the Olympics. Of course, I would love to work during the Olympics with foreign visitors. I want to believe the power of sports that could heal our lives, but our lives should come first. Our priority is to end this pandemic. That's my opinion. So that was someone who is, even though they're working in a hotel, is against the idea of holding the Olympics. Another person writes, my thoughts is that it would be difficult to actually host the Olympics. The vaccine just came out in Japan, and the number of vaccine we need is way more than what we have right now. 2, not only Japan, but also many countries infected people is not decreasing. 3, and I feel the awareness and sense of emergency of people towards the virus is getting lower and lower these days. I have a feeling the number of cases will rise again as a result. Another person writes, I think Japan should give up to hold the games this year to stop the pandemic as soon as possible. And we might damage Japanese international reputation by doing the Olympics in this time of chaos. Okay, there you have it. Very lukewarm, if not completely negative views towards having the Olympics in 2021 from the age 20 to 30 subset of Japanese society. And of course I can't make any strong claims as to how representative this is, but it doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of enthusiasm for the games. What do you think? Do you think the Olympic Games should happen in Japan? Do you feel that they have a chance of happening in 2021, despite obviously the pandemic still not having left our lives at this point? Granted, it is February when I'm filming this, and the Olympics won't happen until, you know, the latter part of summer, so things can clearly change in that amount of time. But as of right now, there's not a lot of enthusiasm or positive thinking around the Olympics here. How do you feel about it? Okay, thank you so very much for watching this episode. And if you have not already, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content. I put out a new video about Japan, society, life, and culture every single week, always on Friday. So please look for my upcoming episodes and check out my past content if you would. Thank you so much for watching this one, and I will catch you next week. Peace.